Right, so I'm going to talk about to some extent I'm going to carry some of the threads that perhaps James Ash started this morning, but and also the general thread of quantification and calculation that's been going on in this conference for the past 2 days. But I'm going to look at it from a bit of a different angle, and the main focus of this presentation is looking at quantification not only as an underlying data structure or underlying process, but also as a feature of the user interface, and how this specific feature of the digital user interface might come into play. So as is tradition, I am thanking the ERC for funding the Charting the Digital project, of which I'm part of. This is a project that, 5 years project that looks into the, I should be better at saying this straight. It looks at the transition from paper to digital maps, right? So this is the general scope of this project. And within this project, I myself, I do ethnographies of contemporary digital map making. So I go into places that make maps, and I usually offer them some sort of a project-based relationship where I do something for them and they give me access to their data and their daily lives. I'm particularly interested in mapping as a service rather than maps as products, and in line with the general transmission to a more service-oriented industry online. One of my main theoretical prism is the notions of playful interaction, and in particular I also use video games for clues and cues for particular ways that interaction can be structured and managed within those digital systems. And in the broader sense, I want to see how designers inscribe meanings into Maps UI. And by maps, by the way, I mean cartographical, you know, the Google Maps type of stuff. And how those inscriptions allow and create sort of emergent designer user power structures. Right. And now a short interlude. So Darshana yesterday showed us a very exciting Let's Play, and James talked about the Call of Duty type of games on today's morning show. I want to show you something a bit different. And for those of you who are unaware, Let's Play is a type of internet format where... Do we have sound? We do not. Sure. Right, so I'll try to show it to you. Maybe is it on silent mode? Yes, it is.
Terran inhabitable planet. Luna is still being converted. We have all the oxygen we need. We're just creating enough greenhouse gases here to raise the temperature. We're already at 40% the atmosphere bringing greenhouse gases. We're still negative 34, which is pretty rough, but we've got a ways to go. I'm going to go ahead and just change the minimum to something like 0.2, just so that it doesn't stop early. We'll have to keep babysitting that. And other than that, we are digging around for rocks on some of these other systems here. Some of these other stones. What do we have now? Which moon is it? There, right here. Moon 4 of Planet 6 is currently being inspected by our geological survey team. It's one that's got a good amount of minerals already, so it'll be... for this one, I'm mostly hoping for either increased quantity in one of the things we've already got, or ideally just unlocking a different type of material as well would be really nice. Some of the research completed at the end of our last tick, but we've got all our labs assigned. We're just trying to power through a couple more military techs. Actually, I really, unless our sensors have more things in the queue, I don't have music playing. Okay.
Right. So I like showing this little video to people to engage their reaction, because usually it's sort of like this, with stairs of complete shot. So this is a Let's Play, a format, a video format where a YouTube personality, usually with some sort of a following, takes his or her viewers on a journey through a game by playing it and commenting on it at the same time, often done to showcase skills, sometimes done in more of an entertainment format. And this particular guy, who goes by the name Quill18, is quite famous for doing strategy games, and specifically the grand strategy games of the type that you have a lot of armies and generals and politics and all those kind of things. And he's been doing a Let's Play of this game earlier last year, which is called Aurora 4X. It's a one-person made video game. This is a game that's been played for fun. And this, believe it or not, but the person who made the game made it when he was teaching himself Visual Basic. So you wouldn't say it based on the very table-heavy interface, but he actually did. And this is extremely, well, not extremely, but it's quite boring, if you ask me. And yet I've watched it. I watched almost, I think, 25 episodes before I stopped. And moreover, this is one of his most popular things. It gets about 20,000 views per average compared to high-profile strategy games like Europa Universalis 4 that get only 4,000 to 6,000 views. People watch him day in, day out, go and take... this is like a grand space empire game. Yes, very, very minute, very detail-oriented. You can mine for asteroids, you can design your own ships, and all the design, nothing graphical going on. You just tweak numbers, you tweak engine speed, you tweak a shield capacity, and you have like, actually, he has an Excel sheet running in the background in which he calculates the optimum velocity and delta V to make the ships go faster. It's math. It's math homework in a game form. And I got a bit of a familiar feeling when I was looking into that, because in my youth I played a lot of those type of role-playing games. This is the first Diablo, for those of you fortunate enough to know it. And one of the pleasures of playing those role-playing games, and especially in the computer role-playing games iteration, is this tweaking of numbers. As you see, the interface is full with numerical information, and in those games, usually, as you become powerful, as you gain up levels, go from level 1 to level 2, as you find a weapon that can do from 1 to 2 damage to 3 to 4 damage, this is a very easy and very convenient way to convey to the user, to the player, that they are becoming better, that they are becoming stronger. And I find this really interesting. And I wanted to see if this feeling of numerical improvement can be traced in other types of user interfaces, and if so, how, and what does it mean? Let's talk about maps. Specifically, let's talk about Albert Heijn. I'm looking to, because he is Dutch, and we share understanding of what Albert Heijn is. An empire of supermarkets spread out throughout the entire Netherlands, ubiquitous as the most Dutch thing that you could probably find next to stroopwafels. This is a sort of based on actual thing that happened. I needed to meet up with a colleague to go buy some groceries at an Albert Heijn for an office party. And as I was about to meet him, and he told me, meet me at the Albert Heijn, I thought to myself, wait a second, which Albert Heijn did he mean? And so I Googled the shortage for Albert Heijn, and 3 of them popped around my office. Now, I was pretty sure that he meant Voorstraat, because I thought to myself, well, this one is the closest, right? But then I thought, wait, but is it the closest then? Because when I clicked on the one on Nachtigallstraat, I got a 7-minute walking distance, and he told me that it's only 550 meters. And I thought, wait, so maybe this one is the closest one, and even that we set up to meet at the other one, or did we? Maybe I should call him and say that we should meet at this one because we'll be coming back with groceries and it will be heavy, so we probably need to go to the closer one. And but how much for the other one? And then I clicked on that and it told me 600 meters and also 7-minute walking. So so I started thinking to myself, and then I realized that I was 5 minutes late. And he's waiting for me there, and I texted him that I'm on my way. So
where was he?
Well, at the other one. At the Voorstraat, because everybody go there. It's just sort of because it's also more in the center of the city. So a lot of information was inscribed into this map, and when we talk about map inscription and what can be inscribed, so a lot of the time the grand politics come in. Those of you who are interested in critical cartography, for example, or who've been following the debates about the use of certain maps, even as it popped up in popular culture, such as in the White House, would recognize probably the joke in this XKCD comic about how the different ways that you transfer a spherical structure like the Earth into a flat surface carries within it certain political implications and certain political assumptions. But I would also say, and I base it a lot on this excellent paper by Craig Dalton, that other attitudes could be inscribed in a map. So he spent a lot of time with the community of sort of non-cartographer, but techie, coder, map developers that hang around the Google space of mapping, using their API to build products. And he says, as a Google product, elements of play were built directly into the maps. Google's executives have long instilled play into the working conditions and products of the company. Thus, Google Maps' primary instrumentalization design utilizes technical codes of profit generation and play. This also that came up from his interviews with those developers. They say, well, we're doing it for fun because it's fun to play with those systems, but we're hoping also maybe to make some money out of it at some point. But the two are not mutually exclusive. They are connected. So is this gamification? I come from a media department where we have a strong game studies tradition, so we're very careful throwing around terms like games and play, and I want to say that this is it is a play, it is a sort of gamification, but maybe a bit different. It's a playfulness, and as Miguel Sicart says that his distinction is very good, and I use it. I'm going to read it for, I'm sorry for the wall of text. Play is an activity, while playfulness is an attitude. An activity is a finite and coherent set of actions performed of certain purposes, while an attitude is a stance towards an activity, a psychological, physical, and emotional perspective we take on activities, people, and objects. In this sense, playfulness is projecting some of the characteristics of play into non-play activities. It is an attempt to engage with the world in the mode of being of play, but not playing. And Sicart's point of departure is pretty interesting because unlike a lot of theorists of play, especially modern theorists of play, he does not look at games as a point of departure, but at toys. How toys as physical objects create this playfulness and playful attitude. So if we're talking about this this playful attitude in a non-play setting or a non-game setting, we're talking about a map, how would you do that? Well, what my answer is, one potential way that you can do it is through numbers. And to talk about it, I'm going to briefly run through three pillars, theoretical pillars, one being the notion of the machine zone, the other of cognitive fluency, and the third, intensity matching and availability heuristics. So the machine zone is, Natasha Schul will be teleconferencing later in this conference. She will probably talk a lot about it. I recommend you all read her book, it's incredible. And one of the, she did a really long-term ethnography of gambling machine designers in Las Vegas, include the machine themselves, but also the spaces in the machine in which the machines reside, and so on and so forth. And she came with this idea, also by interviewing gamblers themselves, of the machine zone, where she says there is a mismatch between the human capacities to process and respond to information and those of the digital technology. This mismatch, one could further suggest, reflects the larger symmetry between designers and players' technology of disenchantment and state of enchantment. And how does this is manifest in the design of the gambling machine? She talks about how gamblers do not, and gambling and designers do not want to win or lose. They don't care about that. They want to get into the zone, and the designers want to help the users get into the zone. And this zone, she says, the gamblers I spoke supplemented an exotic 19th century terminology of hypnosis and magnetism with 20th century reference to television watching, computer processing, and vehicle driving. So this automatization, this disconnect, this the enjoyment of the mechanical action that you're familiar with. And speaking about familiarity, there is quite a lot of research about how cognitive fluency, or the feeling of ease that comes with doing something you're familiar with and something that you've practiced, has also have some affective states tied to it. It connotes pleasantness. It's pleasant. It's fun to do something repeatedly when you feel that you're getting something out of it. It's a very feedback loop kind of engagement structure. And when we talk about doing it with numbers, another concept that's worth noting, and I'm running through them because we don't have a lot of time, but I'll be happy to discuss it in detail with you later during the break, is the idea also of intensity matching. The idea that there is human proponency, that there is a proponency of human cognition to change between different scales with relative ease. And Kahneman gives a famous example that he gives is how we can, in a similar cultural setting, match the severity of a crime to a color scale. So we would know that, that theft is a different shade of red than murder, etc., etc. And we're quite good at translating, and this is a theme that's been coming up a lot at the conference, where we tend to use numerical scales to answer easier questions instead of, because once you have a numerical scale and you can translate performance, let's say, into a numerical scale, you can measure it. And we as humans tend to do that even in daily lives. We tend to match different intensities of different scales. And so when we look at something at the user interface of something like Facebook, coming back to the previous talk, Benjamin Grosser, the developer of the coder, the numericator, which does exactly what it says on the tin, removes all numerical information from Facebook, reports how the interaction changes drastically for the users who use this plugin by removing this constant nudging feeling that they had when they used Facebook otherwise, where numbers would pop up and you click on the number, and then the number disappears, and then the number would continue popping up. And he talked about how his users do not feel this compelling feeling to go back to click on the numbers again and again. And for him, those numbers are a quantified desire, capitalist desire for more that Facebook embedded in its user interface to entice its users to come back and to interact more and more with its system. When you look at something like a Google Maps user interface, you'll notice a lot of numbers as well. Those numbers simplify the world for you. They give you straightforward answers. They tell you that it will take 3 minutes to go through there and 2 minutes to go through there. They take it, this is bigger than this, or this is longer than this. If you're logged into any sort of social envelope, especially if you do it on your phone where different apps talk to each other, you might get prompts from your friends that this place that you're next to was rated 4 stars by a friend of yours. Or you might get a reminder that you've been to this place 3 years ago, as it happens to me quite a lot when I look at the map. And so coming back to this idea of numbers as pleasurable, I think it's safe to say that there is a certain quiet pleasure in numbers, in tweaking numbers, in seeing a direct results of your actions. Numbers are clear, they are understandable. Even for people who are afraid of numbers, and I am one of them, by the way, I'm by no means a fan of math and numbers, it's very clear that 2 is bigger than 1, okay? And an interface that presents, even though we now move to more visual and fluid and experiential design, there's something very experiential about seeing you get +1 on something and seeing it becoming 5 instead of 4. So my notion of casual power that's central to my dissertation, I didn't want to focus on it too much, but through it I want to explain it a bit. So I think that not unlike the idea of the envelope power, the idea of casual power focuses though a bit more on the embedding of quotidian interactions into the daily user's habituality. And in the case of quantified user interfaces, we can say that map makers are attempting to simplify reality by turning it quantifiable and manipulatable through habitualized actions and gestures when you talk about haptic screens and user interfaces, by designing a certain disconnect, remember the machine zone, between the mechanical actions that you perform on the interface that obfuscates the physical world behind it. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. Some of it will be in this recently published article that I submitted. At the same time, sort of a lot of the ideas floated around that I submitted to the conference, and to my great surprise, it came out before the conference. So there might be some duplicity there, but yeah, thanks for the attention.
Thank you.